Shalom, shalom. Maybe 36, 37. And then we got some of y'all log in. Hey, shalom, shalom as well. We're going to be starting in Esther. Shalom, shalom. We're going to be starting in Esther. Well, for those who, shalom, shalom. Shalom, there, Ms. Ivana. I know you need to be. They ain't gonna put out laundry out on the street. So, starting Esther tonight. For those who celebrate Purim or Purim, happy observation and remembrance of Purim and of the way Yah saved, the way Yah kind of gives us a glimpse into how salvation might be. And it's, I know a lot of times we get the idea of, the Lone Ranger, High-Hole Silver, the Lone Ranger coming in, or Batman or Superman coming in, or Superman coming in and saving a little girl and flying off and she falling, looking all in his eyes. Well, that's not that's not necessarily the picture that the scriptures give, especially to the children of Israel in exile. Right? We got to remember that the saints, or the children of Israel, the saints, those who have joined themselves to Mashiach, a lot of us are in exile. We are not in the land. Even those that are in the land, Mashiach, Yahshua is not ruling. He's not ruling and reigning. So we have to look at these events. And as we always talk about in the New Testament, how the behavior, there's a certain requirement of our behavior. And the New Testament really, really stresses that. And as we see when we're looking at this book tonight in Esther, that the behavior matters, even under duress, even under stressful situations. Yah has an expectation already set for us, and then we have to reach that expectation. So with that being said, I think we might be ready to roll. Almighty Yah, and we give you all the praise and the glory. We thank you, Yah, for this day, for this time, for this opportunity to get into your word tonight. And Yah, we pray that our mind, that our Ruach is open, Almighty Yah, and that you may supplant us with what we need to get into this study, to parallel it and to our lives, and how we need to become better citizens of a kingdom that is yet to come. We thank you for your mercy and grace that you have given us to be able to get it right. Yah, thank you and I praise you. I just pray that we be a people who you're on the forefront of our minds, that your Torah is on the forefront of our lips, and that you have written the law on our heart, Almighty Yah, that the stony heart has been removed. So Yah, we just thank you. We praise you. There's none that's like you, and there's none that's beside you. Yahshua HaMashiach, and we pray. Amen. Okay. All right. So we are in Esther 1:1. So As we said, happy Purim to those who observe it or celebrate it. I know a lot might say, well, that ain't in the Torah. No, it's not. It's not. It's not in there. You're absolutely right. But history, tells us something. We get a picture of something. Once again, we get a picture of something. And are we paying attention to things of the past? What forever things are written aforetime is written for our learning. Okay. So Esther 1:1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, who reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces. Okay. So the realm or the reign that they had was from India. So think about India on your map. All right. All the way to Ethiopia. All right. And we have some writings of when the Persians began to come into Africa, that it was the Israelites who were down in Elephantine Island. They have them. These are facts that they were sending distress calls like, hey, man, the Egyptians are doing this. They're doing that. Please tell them to stop. So we know that off the Nile River, we have pockets and communities and of Israelites up and down the Nile, especially deep down the Nile. So just remember that the territory was from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces. In those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which is in the Shushan, the palace. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast to all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, okay, or Media. So we have two, Medes and the Persians and the Medes, okay. So this union that we see here when it's said in strength is something we need to pay attention to in our time. Okay, the Medes and the Persians. Okay, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. So he's having what you call it open house. When you're trying to buy a house, you got open house and everybody can come and look at his house. So he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom, the honor of his excellent majesty, many days, even 180 days. So he had an open house by 140 days, 160 days. So had a long kicking it now for many months. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan, the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue, black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse from one from another, the royal wine in abundance according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law, none did compel. So the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. So they continued this celebration for like 7 more days after. So, after the party was the after party. Okay. Then verse 9, and Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look upon. Now, when you read it, don't be thinking of purple crown royal bags. Now, what are they talking about? Okay, before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look upon. So the king was like, hey, where my lady at? Get my baby out here. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shiftar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meris, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law, because she have not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains? And Mumcam answered before the king and the princess Vashti the queen have not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they should despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. So now we have the king, and we have all of his council, his royal advisors, people with power within his kingdom, and they're talking about this scenario where she just refused to come. He said, come here, and she said, I'm not coming. Verse 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it not be altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, okay, so from all the way to India, all the way to Ethiopia, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan, for he sent letters into all the king provinces, and to every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear the rule in his own house, that it should be published according to the language of every people. So as we read this chapter 1, we see that in 17 through 22, there's like, look, she didn't come for whatever reason. And the outcome is that all of the rest of the women within the kingdom are going to take that, and then they're going to rebel, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that. And we can look at it a lot of different ways. Like my wife always talks about the cultural context of the scriptures. So it's interesting, what all comes with him calling her, when he says to show off her beauty. Well, what does that mean? Just to look at her like a model on a runway? So there are some things that, is interesting. That's probably maybe discussable, maybe was something where she felt violated, or maybe she was just like, I'm not coming, and rolling her hair and rolling her head and popping her lips and all that stuff. So we're going to look at Proverbs 14:1, because this became such an issue that we're going to make a law about this. It was such an issue. We're going to make a law about this. And if she hadn't have done it, then there would have never been a Hadassah, right? There would never been a Esther, right? So we're going to look at Proverbs 14:1. Proverbs 14:1. Okay, reader, go ahead. Read. That's me. Every wise woman buildeth her house. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. But the foolish plucketh down with her hands. So when we're talking about Queen Vashti, was she being wise or was she being foolish? Well, the outcome of her decision was that she lost the royal estate, right? Verse 19, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate, her house, unto another that is better than she. So, because she was foolish on this day, okay, because she didn't come, she tore down her own house. And then somebody else was allowed to be in the house or to build the house. Okay, so that's very interesting. So that was Proverbs 14:1, that every wise woman builds her house. Okay, and as we go through this book of Esther, we're going to see that she did, in a way, build the house, because we know when it comes to Yah, the way he makes it is that our bodies are temples, our bodies are dwelling places, and if the physical bodies are destroyed, that means the house was destroyed. Okay, so all right, chapter 2. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan, the palace, to the house of the women, to the custody of Hedge the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. Okay, so we have to think about that's a lot. Bringing up all the virgins throughout all the kingdom. So think about all of the young girls, young women that were found, that were gathered he had to pick out of. Okay, let the maiden which pleased the king be queen instead of Vashti, and the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan, the palace was a certain Yehudi, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Yair, or Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjaminite. Okay, so we get a description of a Yehudi who's in the palace of Shushan, who has has a pretty good seat. I mean, he's in the palace. Who had been carried away captive from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried with Jeconiah, king of Judah. I said Judah and Yehuda, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. Keep going. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. Okay. So it came to pass when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also into the king's house to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things for purification, which such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids into the best place of the house of the women. So she is getting favor. So we get a picture here. We go back to verse 6, that Mordecai is described as one of the descendants of those who were carried off into captivity. So here we have another example of another man, another Yehudi, another man of Judah, who is a descendant of the captives. But as we go through this, we're going to see if Mordecai, if he was a man that had good behavior, or if he was a man that had bad behavior. And it doesn't matter where he is, whether he is in the land or whether he's in exile or he's in the king's palace, he's out in the country, it don't matter. it's about the behavior. Okay. And a lot of times people want to talk about a lot of stuff, but they don't want to talk about behavior, which is very important. Esther had not shown her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. So that don't tell them you're of the people of Yehudi, that you're a Yehudi, you're of the people of Judah. Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now, when every maid's turn was coming to go into King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months according to the manner of women, for so are the days of their purifications accomplished, to with 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 months of sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women to the custody of Shashagzah. Close enough. The king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines, she came in unto the king no more, so the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Okay, so you got to be called by name by the king. Okay, so remember that. On the term of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was coming to go into the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed, and Esther obtained a favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So she wasn't in there. I'm talking about give me some Gucci. Okay, she wasn't in there, let me get this, let me get that. That's not what she was doing. Throat. Ooh. So she wasn't in there like that. Okay. So Esther was taken to the king Ahasuerus and to his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Okay, so looking at that right there, we have a man who has no Torah in him, okay? And they just had multiple months, I don't know, is that 180 days of just kicking it. So we have a man who has got no law, no Torah in him, but he noticed Vash ain't up in there twerking and pop dropping. She ain't up in there, with give me the Gucci and high heels and go-go boots. And she ain't in there like that. Okay, book's pretty clear. So he noticed her beauty through the humility. Okay, he noticed her beauty through the humility. All right, so and he put the crown on her head. Right, so will the great king notice our beauty through our humility? Will the great king notice our beauty through the humility and put a crown on our head? Okay, now Knucklehead got it right. He's probably still drunk. I don't know. He got it right. So what will we look like? Grace and favor in his sight more than all the other virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast to all the princes and his servants, even Esther's feast, and he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. When the virgins were gathered together the second time, that Mordecai sat in the king's gate, Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her, for Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. So she kept the commandment of her, honor thy father. Okay. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it to Esther, the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. So what was put in the book, right? It was recorded on what Mordecai had did. Okay, that was in 21 through 23. Now, if we turn to Matthew 7, so right as chapter 2 is coming to an end, we get a little action here. Some guys want to try to assassinate the king. Mordecai caught whiff, and he snitched. He dimed them out, right? That's how some people think, right? I ain't no snitch. My name is Lee, and I can't see. I don't know nothing. I ain't see nothing. Ain't that amazing? Folks can get shot in the hood, and everybody know, but don't nobody know. Laws pull up. I don't know nothing, man. Folks get real good. I don't know nothing, man. I don't know nothing. Matthew 7 and 12. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. So one way to pick Mordecai out is by his actions. And Mordecai was connected to the people who were taken out captive from Babylon. Remember, there was somebody named Daniel. Then there was Shadrach, Meshach, and one bad Negro, right? Remember them? Were they honorable? Did they keep the Torah? Were they just good guys? They DTRT, do the right thing. So when we look at Matthew 7 and 12, therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. Why? Well, this is the law and the prophets. So we find Mordecai being of the same temperament of his predecessors. Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, one bad Negro, right? He's of that. He's following that protocol. And it was written in the book. It was written in the book. Okay? Is that making sense? In exile. So while we're in exile, what's being recorded in the book? Do we exude that aspect of Torah? And sometimes things are simple, yes or no. That's just something just to chew on. Now in chapter 3. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. So Haman became super elevated. Okay. All the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman. For the king had so commanded concerning him, but Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were at the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgressed thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, that he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he told them that he was a Yehudi. When Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So Haman got mad. I'm so mad. I'm going to kill you because you ain't bow. Okay? Remember that. When Haman, verse 6, and he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Yehudi. Not just this one man, all of them. I'm going to get rid of all of you. They were throughout all the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pure, that is the lot before Haman, from day to day, from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad, certain people scattered abroad, certain people scattered. So Another marker that's in the Torah of the children of Israel is what? Scattered. 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 Okay? There's a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces. Wait a minute. And how many of the provinces? All the provinces. So from India to where? Ethiopia. Of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's law, therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. So now we get Haman up in here. He going in, ain't he? He going in. Now, if we look at Haman, Haman was who? He was the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Okay, let's turn to 1 Samuel 15. What's Haman's issue? What's up, man? Oh, you some money or something? Oh, you some money. So 1 Samuel 15. Remember, he was so full of wrath to put hands on him and kill him because he didn't bow. And not only I want to kill you, I want to kill everybody that is of your ethnicity. I'm going to kill all y'all. 1 Samuel 15:8. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. Okay, Agag or Agag, it means I will overtop. Okay, I will overtop. Now in Exodus 17 and 14, we get an interesting, but Yah says that he will utterly destroy the remnants of Amalek from generation to generation. Okay, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's Exodus 17 and 14 about this going on every generation. This will, he said, do not forget. Okay, do not forget. So now we see that Haman, I think as Shaul would say, that it's not the flesh, but it's the spirit that we wrestle, not against flesh and blood, but the powers and principalities. Now, if you remember Daniel, he was visited by an angel called Gabriel or Gabriel. And Gabriel was like, look, I was coming, but the power or the principality or the king of Persia wouldn't let me in. Okay, I got a little backup. Okay, so understand they are in Shushan, right? This is the center of the throne of the Persian Empire or the power. And here we have someone who is second in command under the king, wanting to do what? Wipe out all of Yehudi. Okay, all right. And if we look at Haman, his actions should remind us of something we've talked about, I guess, during last month. We talked about people that tell your story. Now, people tell your story, they don't tell the truth all the time, do they? Huh? They're going to tell you about you. So when they tell your story, but they ain't being truthful, the scriptures call them what? A talebearer. Remember that? A talebearer. So we'll look at two different things of talebearers and see if this matches this knucklehead here. Let's turn to Proverbs 18 and 8. Quickly, Proverbs 18 and 8. He said they were scattered. They're scattered. Proverbs 18 and 8. The words of a talebearer are as wounds. They go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Okay. And we're going to see this come to life here when we look at Mordecai's reaction. All right. But the words of a talebearer are as wounds. They go down to the innermost of the belly. And that Hebrew word is nirgan. Nirgan. Okay. Nirgan. All right. The next one is going to look at Proverbs 20 and 19. He that goeth about as a talebearer revealeth secrets. Therefore, meddle not with him. Therefore, meddle not with him. Therefore, meddle not with him that flattereth with his lips. So what do we have Haman doing right now? He's talking. He's revealing secrets. But these ain't truthful things. So he's sitting here in the king's ear, putting stuff in his head, right? And the scripture said, hey, don't even fool with him. So you know what Mordecai was doing when it came to Haman? I ain't even looking at you, bro. I ain't even paying you no attention. Why are we always worried about people? The book is real simple. If people saying something or doing something, they ain't got nothing to do with you, don't even fool with them. Don't even meddle with them. Ignore them. Yeah, it's not hard. So we see that make Haman even more mad. Mordecai like, I don't even acknowledge you, bro. Haman come walking through, Mordecai like this. Everybody are bowing down. He's like, you ain't gonna bow? I ain't gonna speak. I'm not gonna acknowledge you. So we say in Proverbs, it say that he that go about as a talebearer revealeth secrets, therefore meddle not with him that flattereth with his lips, which we see what he's doing. Okay. All right. Verse 9. If it pleased, back in Esther now, Esther 3:9. If it pleased the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasuries. The king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the Yehudim's enemy. The king said to Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Oh, and also that talebearer from 18:8 to be a calumniator. All right, that means you make malicious and false statements. Okay, I forgot about that. Let's see. So this chapter ends with the post being out, the mail being sent out. The king has put his signet on it. In verse 13, the letters were sent to all the provinces, okay, to kill all the Yehudim, young, old, little, children, women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and take the spoil of them for a prey. Okay, so that's what went out. Okay, so now let's go to verse 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out to the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. So remember about the talebearer, and the words is like a wound in the pit of the belly. Okay, so now we see the words, how these words have struck Mordecai deep. Okay, and even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. In every province, whethersoever the king's commandment is decreed came, there was great mourning among the Yehudim, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. He's like, no, I'm not putting that on. They called Esther for Hathach, which was the king's chamberlains who had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So she want to know what's going on. No, we'll skip some of this. Try to stay on time. Let's get to, so we got word. Word is going back from Mordecai unto Esther. And we can pick up at 10. And Esther spake unto Hathach and gave him commandment to Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whatsoever, whether man or woman, shall come into the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Now, we're going to read his response, and this is something that I think is very important. The Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself. So don't think within yourself. So I think sometimes, especially, it's unfortunate that when you live in the West, you live in America, you live in the land of, hey, go to Snappy Tomatoes and get as much pizza as you want. Go to Chinese buffet and just fill up like a big old cow. Just go do whatever you want to do. Okay, you're able to do a lot of things, and we don't think things are going to happen to us, right? We don't think a certain way. Like, we're not prepared. And look what he says. He says, "Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Yehudim. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace," if thou together hold thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come into the kingdom for such a time as this? Very powerful right there. Okay. So he says that if you hold your peace, he said, don't think within yourself that you're going to make because you're in the king's house. Like, so just because you got stuff or you in a good scenario that you straight, like you're not straight, that there will be deliverance. Okay, you're not going to escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. Then he said, if you hold your peace at this time, there shall be enlargement and deliverance shall arise from another place. But since you didn't do what you're supposed to do, you will be destroyed. Right? So when it comes to this walk, when it comes to being in this faith, being in this walk, that if we don't do the things we're supposed to do, that doesn't mean it ain't going to get done. It just means that y'all going to rise up someone else and that you got to bear the weight of not doing your job. And on most jobs, when you don't do your job, you fired. You fired. Okay? So everybody's got a job. Okay. So he says, who knoweth whether thou art coming to the kingdom for such a time as this? You ever had to scramble before? I don't know how I'm going to do A, B, and C. Well, this is where they at. In exile. Mordecai, who walks by the commandments. He didn't have to let the king know, that these guys are trying to put paws on him and kill him. They ain't have to do that. Okay. So Esther is in this situation. Who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom at the time as this? Okay, we're going to look at 2nd Esdras. Use an extra biblical source. My favorite verse here is 2nd Esdras 5 and 48. So I have a conversation between the prophet Esdras and the Most High. Then said he unto me, even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their time. Then said he unto me, even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that have been sown in it in their time. So Yah will sow things or do things within the earth, and then it comes up or out for a specific time. Okay, Ecclesiastes. All right, Ecclesiastes 3 and 1, and it reads, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the Shemayim, under the heaven. Okay, so things are specifically on time dealing with Yah. So Mordecai, who's been her dad pretty much, is like, look, who knows that you are into the kingdom? You're the queen of all this. You're the queen. Okay. So verse 16, her response, Go gather together all the Yehudim that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night, 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go to the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So now she done made her mind up. Okay. And she says we got to fast and pray. Now, they are in exile. Okay. There's no army coming in. There's no Delta Force, no Navy SEALs, no G.I. Joe squad, no X-Men coming to save the day. We got to fast and pray. Now, they're in exile. So to all the saints out there, I think there's going to be a time where all the believers are going to have to fast and pray and got to be on the same page. And there's one thing that has all these brothers and sisters on the same page: becoming extinct. Your life on the line. And the life's on the line, and then they all are in agreement. We're going to fast and pray for 3 days. We kind of give it over to Yah. Okay, so let's scroll to 5. We'll start at 5. Esther 5. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on the royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in his royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be given to thee, even the half of the kingdom. Okay. Now, the selfishness, okay, is like, shoot, make sure I stay alive. Okay, make sure I don't want to die. I can't do nothing very well, but I can save my behind. Because I heard Mordecai say it. Okay, what would you say? What would be on your heart? Okay. Verse, he offered up to half the kingdom. She said I want to make you guys a banquet. Okay. And I want to invite Haman also. Okay. So now let's stay in 5. We'll get to 9. 5 and 9 now, Esther. Then went Haman forth that day, joyful with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, okay, saw Mordecai, that he stood not up nor moved for him. Okay, so once again, remember what it said in the Proverbs. Like, look, if you run up on a talebearer, man, don't even acknowledge that man. Don't even acknowledge him. So Mordecai's like, I don't even look in your direction. It's like he's standing right here. I'm turning this way. I ain't even looking at you. I'm not even looking at you. So he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself. So Haman was so mad, he had to like calm himself down. Like, I'll kill you right now. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself and came home and sent and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife. Haman told him of the glory of his riches, right? Bragging. I had a great time. I got so many raises, and I got so many this, and I got so much that. And the multitude of his children, and all the things when the king had promoted him, and how he advanced him above the princes and served the king. And Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself. And so tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Then says Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, Let a gallows be made 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. then go be married with the king into the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Okay. He caused them to be made. Now, if we look at 10 through 14, that he was so mad, he came on me bragging, he talking, but like he's like, oh, that don't mean nothing. I want to kill him. I want to kill him, man. I want to kill him. Because he never bowed. I don't even acknowledge it. I don't even acknowledge it. Psalms 10. Psalms 10. It's right and right. Because look, they life on the line. And look, ain't no army in the story. Ain't no, ain't no Master P or nobody coming with no limit soldiers. Ain't nothing going on. Okay. All right. Psalms 10 and 2. Psalms 10 and 2. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that which they have imagined. I'm going to read that again. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. So as we look in that chapter, what happened? He said, man, let the gallows be built. He said, that's a great idea. Get them gallows built. So David is like, man, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. In the images and the devices that they have created against the poor, okay, let them take that fate. We see that. I think David says, let their table become a what? Snare. Let their table be a snare. So the appetite of the flesh, pride, can lead you somewhere. Okay, and we see where it's leading Haman. He just don't know. All right. You ever seen somebody that didn't know something was coming? They just running up their mouth, they just popping off in the mouth, and they don't even know. Psalms 59 and 12. Psalm 59 and 12. For the sin of their mouth and the words of their lip, let them even be taken in their pride, and for cursing and lying which they speak. For the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them even be taken in the pride, and for cursing and lying which they speak. So we see that they spoke it, he agreed to it. And so chapter 6. So now the king can't sleep. Somebody got him tossing and turning. We ain't going to say who, but he can't sleep. And remember, Mordecai did something that will be real Torah-like. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is the law and the prophet. That was Matthew 7 and 12. And it got written in the Chronicles. It got put in a book. It was found written 5, 6, and 2 that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, the two king chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay on the king Ahasuerus. The king said, what honor and dignity has been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. So, you doing your duty, you paying your dues, you ain't supposed to always have a show or some kind of highlight festival or some kind of pat on the back for DTRT, for doing the right thing. You don't need all that. So the king was like, man, what do we do for him? Man, we didn't do nothing for him. The king said, who's in the court? He said, now Haman was come to the outer court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that are ready. They're prepared for him. So he tells him to come on in. Haman walk in, verse 6. Haman come in. The king said to him, what should be done to the man to whom the king delight to honor? Haman thought in his heart. Now we know his heart is full of what? Pride. His heart's full of pride. To whom would the king delight to do honor more than to himself? Look, watch how Haman keep the law. Watch how Haman keep Torah. Watch this. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighteth to honor. So he said, now, I'm sorry, verse 6. I'm sorry, go back up. Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself? So he's about to say, hey, this is how you need to treat me. But in reality, this is how the king is about to treat his neighbor. He just thought it was talking about himself. Right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now verse 8. He said, let the royal apparel be brought what the king used to wear, and the horse which the king ride upon, and the crown royal that sat upon his head, and the apparel and the horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Then the king said to Haman, make haste and make the apparel and the horse that thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai, the Yehudi, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken, or I cut you. So now this is the beginning of the fall for your boy. Okay. We're going to look at really quick Proverbs 29 and 23. Proverbs 29 and 23. So he was already mad at the fact that he wouldn't bow. Now I got to put this, I got to announce this man, I got to do this, I got to do that. Proverbs 29. And what you think about Haman? What you think about Mordecai? Proverbs 29 and 23. A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. A man's pride shall bring him low. How low is Haman right now? But honor shall uphold the humble. Well, how humble has Mordecai been? So honor is about to uphold him and lift him up. Right? Are we supposed to come under the powerful hand of Yah, that he might exalt us in due time? Remember, Mordecai is in exile. Exile. Now there's a man right here across from me that wants to kill me and all of our people. He already got the gallows made for me. I don't even know about it. But Yah about to flip the script. Okay, we'll turn back. And this man got a bounty on all the Yehudi. He got a price tag, right? It was like 10 stacks, pieces of silver. You don't think it's a bounty on the saints? You don't think that there's a price been put on you? Whatever things done 4 times written for my learning. Okay. So now we're going to 6. I'm sorry, going to 7. So the king and Haman come to the banquet with Esther the queen. The king again said on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is the petition, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to thee. What is the request? It shall be poured even the half of the kingdom. Esther the queen answered and said, if I found favor in the sight, O king, if it please the king, let my life be given me and my petition and my people and my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther, the queen, who is he? Where is he? That does presume in his heart to do so. That does presume in his what? Heart. So we see how Yah played. It's almost like, I'm going to let you do what you want to do to the last second. I'm going to pull the rug out from under you. Esther said, the adversary and enemy is his wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the queen. So now he begged. It's too late now. Then the king returned out of the palace of the garden to the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereupon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harboniah and of the chamberlains said before the king, behold, also the galleys 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who had spoken for the king, sent in the house of Haman. The king said, hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that was prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king wrath pacified. On that day, the King Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen, and Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told that he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai, and Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. So remember, a man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in the ruach. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you're in, where you at? Everybody in exile. And there's a certain requirement, there's a certain standard that has been set. And a lot of times, especially grown people, we don't like to follow standards, right? We think in our own way, we're above the standard. And y'all's like, no, you babies to me. That's why you got to be born again, because you got to get your way out of the way. Okay. And all of this takes place, that they're supposed to be executed, or they're supposed to be slain before Nisan. Think about that for a minute. That all this happens before Nisan. See, Yah's in the business of saving. He's in the business of saving. The question is, will we be noticeable out of the shalom, Pastor Battle? Will we be noticeable out of the bunch? Remember, out of all these virgins, he chose Esther or Hadassah, and she didn't want all the Gucci and the high heels and the hair, and she didn't want all that. She like, hey man, just whatever y'all want to give me, I'm gonna take. And are we going to be that kind of queen? Or are we more like Vashti, who we kind of compared to the woman in Proverbs that, one tore the house down and the other one built it up? Which one are we? And obviously, if we go through the rest of this, I know I'm past my time, but we go through the rest of this chapter. They had put out the letters to all of the provinces. So people were going to be trying to kill all of the Yehudi throughout all of the provinces, right? From India to Ethiopia, they were going to try to kill them. There was a price on their head. So once again, when we talk about the saints of the Most High all over the world in exile, and you are made distinct by the laws, and the things that you do is different in the society that you're in. And if they try to snuff you out, can they find you? And then for salvation to come, and you don't know how it's going to come, because there didn't no fire from heaven fall, right? There wasn't a military that came in there, right? It was all within the main players. Yeah, it was all within the main players. Will Esther do what she has been sown to do at this time? And if she does, then Mordecai, ain't nobody got to lift up a sword. I'm going to handle it. So when we go through this and we look at these things and we observe Purim, and we have to realize that whatsoever thing was written aforetime is written for our learning. Haman is of a Agag, right? That I want to overtake you. I want to overtop you. I want to destroy you. It's in the DNA to do it. Okay. So it is something that we got to realize. We go through this every year, that there might be somebody who is not of Agag, but they might have an Agag spirit. And if they have an Agag spirit, we have a great example of Mordecai, how he handled himself. He didn't get all up. He didn't get wrapped up in the narrative. He didn't get wrapped up in the drama. And what's going to hurt the children of Israel and the saints of the Most High in the end time, that we're going to be wrapped up in the drama. And if you're wrapped up in the drama, then you're not Esther or Hadassah, a hidden one. You're just Vashti. So what kind of bride will we be? Here's a great revisionist history for us to try to replicate this, right? That Mordecai, he treated others how he wanted to be treated. And sometimes it's just that simple. When you think about it, it's real simple. Treat people the way you want to be treated. You want to be saved? Treat people right. You'll realize how many people don't want to be saved. They don't want to treat people right. They don't treat them like crap, if I can say that, or feces or whatever. So Yah is very powerful. He's in control of all. He's in control of all things. And the people that are in exile, once again, there was a bounty on the Yehudi. It's going to be a bounty on the saints, the people that are in exile. And we have to be able to come together and pray and fast and work together. And we're so divided. Don't matter if you're Israelites or Messianic or 7 days or whatever it is. Folks are so divided and can't come together on nothing. And there's more power in that prayer. You got a bunch of people coming together praying and fasting for one thing. So with that being said, we wanted to talk about that, and we went through Esther. We pretty much read the book. Now I did not read. Well, I think if you want to finish, we stopped at chapter 7. So 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10. So if you want to read that, please feel free. But we pretty much read the book of Esther, and kind of connected some things. And we just can't get caught up with the talebearer. You have to ignore the talebearer, and we got to be a people that we find ourselves DTRT, doing the right thing, because this is the law and the prophets, that you treat people how you want to be treated. And when we do these things, the Chronicles is being written, because when Mordecai did that, it was written. And when the king went back, he couldn't sleep. And when the king went back and had the notes of the book read to him, he's like, "Hey, did we ever do anything for that guy?" I don't know how much time had passed. He said, "We said, no, we didn't do nothing for him. We got to do it big." So you see how it wasn't that good for Mordecai to get the glory or the honor then, but it was greater later. That's how we got to be. It's going to be greater later, and you can't worry about getting it right now. Right? It's better when you've been exalted, or when it's your time, like the thing we read in that second Ezra. It's about being sown at a specific time, and we're all here at a specific time. So, with that being said, peace and shalom to all the tribes of Israel and to all the believers of Mashiach, all of those who walk in the way and just want to do the right thing and just want to be better, just day by day. Peace and shalom to you. We came a long way. We got a ways to go. And I hope everybody that observes Purim, observes it, think about these things. Remember, whatsoever things are written aforetime is written for our learning. And therefore, that shalom, brother CJ. So with that being said, hope everybody enjoys the night. We got a ways to go. But y'all got his clock set up, and it's set up exactly how it's supposed to be. Because after this 12th month, get ready for Nissan. And there's another the great escape for the people. And once again, put your sword down. I'm gonna fight for you. So we have to realize that Yah's going to fight for us, and we have to come to grips with it. I know you want to act a fool and put your paws up, but Yah is going to fight for his people. And who is his people? Those that had that word written on their heart, coming out their mouth, and DTRT, doing the right thing. For this is the law and the prophets. So with that being said, peace and shalom. Everybody have a great rest of the week. And that's it. I'm done. Aaron up here. Now, Brother Aaron closed out in prayer. No, I'm playing. Just playing. Peace and shalom. See everybody soon. Shalom. What is end stream? Yep.